So not on our watch, we say, to the severely ill or injured veterans who can't get the care they deserve, the therapists they need to walk again, the treatment they need to talk again, the lifetime of day-to-day help they need to live full and independent lives. When there's no more government funding, or a nursing home seems like the only option, or everyone says there's no hope for recovery, we won't leave one warrior behind. Not on our watch. Find out how you can do your part at findwwp.org.
Dave, what are you doing?
Just sending a gift to Dave 2037.
Who?
Me in the future. I save a little money from every paycheck as a gift to Dave 2037, so he can spend it on things like anti-gravity boots or a hologram Doberman, something cool like that. I think Dave 2037 deserves it. He worked hard. What are you getting Steve 2037?
I guess I was thinking Steve 2037 would just fend for himself.
Well, all right, but don't expect to be borrowing my anti-gravity boots.
You want to have money in your future? You got to start saving now. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
Hey, let's just hope Steve 2037 doesn't get his hands on a cold time machine, because he is going to come back here and knock some sense into you.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on wonderful radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, Sports Radio 100.1, The Fan in Florence, 920 AM in Manning. Oh, I saw like 67 out of the gates. We were going for 100. We didn't quite get there. The tipping point, we were almost there. Oh, thank you so much. So that was a fun little ride before the show even kicked off. We're going to do it. We've never pulled it off. I don't really know how you pull it off outside of just saying, hey, folks, let's get it done. But Roddy Jones of the ACC Network said to join us. Like, share, subscribe, do all those things. You're amazing. We're gonna get to that 100 mark. I can feel it deep in my bones because of everybody watching and being a part of it. Retweet it, share it, do all that. Host a watch party if you're on Facebook. We're going to pull it off. 803-450-0086. You can call us on that number. You can text us on that number. Be a part of it. Pay attention to the number in the middle, not the number on the far left side. All right. Big day here on the program. Roddy Jones, hour number 1. Hour number 2, John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, will join us to talk about Notre Dame as, of course, Clemson heads up to South Bend for that matchup. A matchup of top 4 teams in the country, a matchup between two teams that could very easily play again in the ACC Championship in 6 weeks. I mean, this is the game that everybody's had circled for a year or more, and to not have it on the schedule was so disappointing, at least for the fans to be able to travel to, I should say, on your calendar to travel. It's a bitter disappointment. It's the first game, honestly, in 2020 that I felt like, man, is a fan of this sport. I don't care how much coverage I do. As a fan of this game, it pains me that Clemson Tiger fans aren't going to be able to be in that stadium, rocking and rolling South Bend, Indiana. Roddy Jones, though, from the ACC Network and SiriusXM, joins us to preview matchups each and every week here on the show that shakes the Southland. And Roddy, I tell you, a week ago, we didn't know Trevor Lawrence wasn't going to play this past weekend. We didn't know he wouldn't be playing in this game against Notre Dame. A lot has changed since last Wednesday, my friend.
It certainly has a lot, and it's good to be back on with you. And that's kind of the nature of this year, isn't it? Just holding on while all the news comes. But I didn't actually know about it until Friday because I was one of those in Georgia without power. So it was certainly crazy to find out. And it changed the college football landscape in terms of not only this game, but its implications across the country during this.
Man, and to see DJ this past Saturday, given the fact that he had a little over 2 days or right at 48 hours to get ready, what was your breakdown of his performance against Boston College, given the fact that Clemson got down 18 points and still came from behind for a victory?
I thought he was fantastic. I mean, I thought they started the game plan trying to get him comfortable, throwing little things out to the flat. But it was that touchdown pass to Travis Etienne that let me know, okay, this guy's been in his books. He knows where he's supposed to go with the football, and he's thinking quickly enough to make it happen because that blitz comes off the edge. He immediately snaps his head, dumps the ball to Travis Etienne. Whereas sometimes you see out of true freshmen, they eventually get to Travis Etienne. They eventually get to that throw, but it's too late, and you have a guy recovering from the inside, or after you make that throw, you get hit right in the mouth because you just don't process what's happening fast enough and know what the answer is quick enough. So he looked sharp. Obviously, the arm strength stood out. I mean, the guy has an absolute rocket of an arm, one of the best arms I've ever seen, and that's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration. He's got one of the best arms I've ever seen from a quarterback. And mentally, I could tell after that throw, after that play, that he was there. He was locked in and ready to go. So it was really cool to see him step in that moment, them go down 18. Maybe not for Clemson fans to see that, but to go down 18 and then come back and win the football game. It's kind of a storybook beginning to a career, and one that should make Clemson fans really excited.
What do you remember about your first start as a college running back, Roddy, at Georgia Tech? I'm sure that's got to be just burnt into your memory.
Yeah, I remember that the first play was actually a pass. Believe it or not, it was Paul Johnson's first game at Georgia Tech, and the first play he calls is a fake option pass up the seam, and the ball was a little off, but it hit my hands, and I should have caught it. So I dropped the first pass of my college career. But the game, we won the game. It was against Jacksonville State. I ended up scoring a touchdown, and it was, I just remember it being a lot of fun. It moved really fast. That's what I remember thinking. Like, the game moved fast on the field. It moved fast off the field, adjustments. Like, it all just felt like it was happening really fast. And once I was over, I looked up and was able to take a breath. So DJ looks light years ahead of where I felt I was as a redshirt freshman getting my first start.
Okay, so you mentioned the game slowing down. Obviously, that's something that we hear about, and people talk about it quite a bit. DJ had played some. It certainly had slowed down a bit, I would imagine, at that point. But seeing what happened this past Saturday had to sort of draw it in a little bit. How important, how significant is that for this young man going on the road to play in South Bend, Indiana against one of the top 5 teams in the country in the Fighting Irish?
It's pretty important because things are going to ratchet up another notch. This Notre Dame defense is one of the fastest defenses that I've seen this year. They are built on speed. They are incredibly long. And so that is going to make it seem like it is in warp speed compared to what Boston College was. Not that Boston College wasn't a good defense, but physically and athletically, you're talking about a different animal when you're talking about this Notre Dame team. So that experience last week is certainly going to help him. He's not going to feel like he's going from, a different level of ball. Like he's not going to feel like he's going from FCS ball playing in mop-up duty to playing at the highest levels of FBS. Boston College has a legit defense. Notre Dame is one of the best in the country, but having seen a legit Boston College defense in meaningful time is certainly very helpful, very impactful, and is going to help him. The thing that I think will really help him the most, though, is going through the process of going to the sideline, communicating changes, communicating with the coaches what he's seeing, going through that process is really going to help, because that sometimes is the hardest thing as a player, is communicating with the coaches. All right, here's what I see. Here's what they did on third down, and using the terminology that makes it click for the coaches quickly enough for them to make those adjustments.
Roddy Jones again is on Twitter at RoddyJones20, the ACC Network, SiriusXM. He's got you covered when it comes to the Atlantic Coast Conference here every Wednesday afternoon. So, Roddy, I'll ask you, because again, we talk about your schedule quite a bit. I know it's been pretty fluid. Notre Dame's sort of in this weird 2020 kind of an ACC team for one calendar year. Have you been on a call of one of their games? Have you seen this team in person yet?
I have not. No, they're too big time for me, Lawton. Like, they go NBC or ABC or something like that. We haven't gotten them on the network yet. But no, I haven't. I have watched them a lot. I've had teams a number of times after they played Notre Dame, and so I've watched them a lot. And obviously, them being new to the league and me not watching coaches film on them every single game, every single year, because of the fact that they're not in the league full time. And sometimes you just see the TV copy. I made it a point to try and watch this team. So the thing that Clemson fans, if you have not watched them, the thing that's going to stand out is the defense. The way they look, they are tall, long, and athletic in the back seven. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is one of the best in the country. He is a projected first-round pick. He's sort of that rover position, that outside linebacker nickel position. Kyle Hamilton is one of the best safeties in the country. As soon as he walks on the field, you will know who number 14 is. He's about 6'4", 6'5". Incredibly long arms, covers a lot of ground. He's going to be all over the field. And they're really stout up front. Dalen Hayes had a big game last week against Georgia Tech, but they've got two really stout defensive linemen. They are as solid a football team defensively in terms of assignments, alignment assignment, and then athleticism and speed as there is. They are legit. And if you don't believe me, I thought Matt Fortuna wrote a great article in The Athletic about what ACC coaches are saying about this Notre Dame team. ACC coaches that have seen Notre Dame on a year-in, year-out basis are saying this Notre Dame defense is the best defense that they've seen from Notre Dame and Brian Kelly's tenure there, or at least since the agreement's been made to be playing the ACC, which is it's a big compliment there. So that is the first thing that's going to stand out, is just how good this defense is.
Roddy Jones with us here on Clemson's Sports Talk preview and the incredible matchup that is set to take place on NBC, 7:30, coming up Saturday night, the number 1 ranked Clemson Tigers and the number 4 ranked Fighting Irish. The best matchup of teams in terms of their rankings in the history of this league, with a grand total of 5 between the two. Roddy, when you look at these environments in college football, and we've touched on this a lot, mentioning DJ, getting his rhythm, getting to play against Boston College, but then going into South Bend, and it's not 80,000 people in Notre Dame Stadium. It's going to be some students, some faculty members, and some family members of these players. How significant is that in this storyline as we head into Saturday night's game?
I think from a communication standpoint, it is going to be different. And the biggest thing that I think that's going to help DJ feel comfortable is, this environment, these types of environments are all he knows in college football. He hasn't had the opportunity to play in front of 80,000 at Clemson. He hasn't had the opportunity to play in front of, tens of thousands on the road, at least not the tens of thousands that we're accustomed to. So it's not going to feel foreign to him. He played big-time high school football in California, where they've probably had great crowds. He was on ESPN a significant amount as a high schooler. So all of it's going to feel very similar. Now, the gravity of the game, the attention that's being paid to the game, a whole week as the starter, having that go on around you, how does that affect him? I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I guess he's not walking around campus as much now because of COVID, but I don't know what it's like, perusing Twitter when you're the starting quarterback of the number 1 team in the country against the number 4 team. I don't know what that's like. He's probably got people hitting him up all the time. So how does he block that out? That's the 2020 version of walking around campus as the big man on campus.
Well, then we found out as well, Roddy, that Trevor Lawrence will be able to go with the team. He's not going to play. He'll be on the sidelines. I've often marveled, and whether I'm talking with Tommy Bowden or anybody that's ever coached a snap in their life, I've marveled at what players, and more specifically offensive coordinators who are certainly relying on spotters, but quarterbacks and other people on the sidelines can see on the field. How, in your mind, if Trevor's there and he's in DJ's ear from time to time, how important is that? And what can Trevor possibly see from the sidelines, if anything, to help out the freshman quarterback?
Well, I think Trevor is going to digest it differently than everybody else on that sideline, because he's going to be able to go through the reads through DJ's eyes, if you will. The coaches are one thing, and they're going to see things the way coaches do. But sitting there in the pocket and knowing what it's like with those bodies around you, Trevor's going to know that. So he's going to say, he's going to be able to communicate with DJ, hey, in that situation, here's what I would do. Or, hey, I know why your eyes went there, but here's why they shouldn't. And a coach may miss some of that. A coach may say, all right, that wasn't your read. Not saying that Clemson doesn't have great coaches, right. But Trevor knows the trappings of the position from a guy who is going to be taking snaps at the position next week. So it's just a little bit more fresh. And some of the things that he went through as a freshman, like we think of Trevor as some elder statesman. He was a freshman 2 years ago. I mean, let's not forget, like, the guy is a couple of years removed from being a true freshman in that situation against Alabama in the national championship game. So I think Trevor's just the freshness of having seen it, having done it, been in those situations, and maybe it's a calming effect on DJ too. Like, he's used to having Trevor around when he's out there playing. Yes, it was in mop-up duty, and you're still having that communication. Maybe then having Trevor there provides him a sense of calm, because you still have those same conversations, and he has someone to bounce it off of, bounce some ideas off of, or some reads off of what he saw, what he can get away with. Stuff like that. Trevor will give them the real from a quarterback's perspective who's accustomed to being there.
I almost feel like you're looking at my rundown here of things I'm getting to today, because my third note today for the third segment is the confidence that Clemson fans had in Trevor in 2018 as a freshman, and sort of when that maneuvered into being we're very confident in this kid, taking you into the college football playoff, taking you up against Alabama in the championship. So we'll get to that in a little bit, but Roddy Jones is crushing it with us here on a Wednesday afternoon. And Roddy, there's a lot of speculation that, given the fact that North Carolina lost this past weekend, Clemson controls the tiebreaker over Miami. Now, there's certainly some things that could happen between now and the end of the regular season that could derail a potential Clemson and Notre Dame rematch. Do you think, though, at this point, just speculating it out, that it's safe to pencil in those two teams for the ACC championship game?
And this year, nothing's safe. I think if Clemson wins the game, then it is more up in the air. Certainly, okay. If Clemson loses the game, then I think you put it in pencil. Maybe you put it in pen that both of these two teams make it. But if Clemson were to win the game, Notre Dame's then got a loss. And they still have North Carolina to play. So a loss to North Carolina would put North Carolina in the championship game. So I don't think North Carolina is good enough to beat Notre Dame at this point. But I mean, heck, North Carolina lost to Florida State, so anything can happen when you're talking about this season in college football. But I think it's fascinating that the overall thought process between DJ playing in the game and Trevor not, because if there were any quarterback in Clemson other than Trevor Lawrence, I think you'd probably look at DJ as an upgrade. But the fact that you have Trevor Lawrence makes it seem like it's a slight step down. So I think with everything going on, the national perception of this game is, hey, Notre Dame's got to win. If they don't, there's no validation. And I really don't feel that way. I feel like if Notre Dame were to win one of the two matchups, if you are to pencil them in, if they win one of the two matchups, they're likely in the college football playoff. If Clemson wins one of the two matchups, they're still likely in to the college football playoff. So either way, I don't want to say this game means nothing, but it's not the way we think they will. You get a rematch. The rematch is going to matter as much, if not more, than this one in terms of the overall landscape.
On Twitter at Roddy Jones 20, go follow him right now. All right, Roddy. Final thing is a running back It stood for 42 years, I guess, 44 years. Ted Brown's rushing record in the Atlantic Coast Conference was broken this past Saturday by Travis Etienne. He continues to show his versatility, catching the ball out of the backfield, etc. We got about a minute and a half. Give me a little bit on what you think that you've seen from Etienne this year that would say, hey, he's absolutely increased stock for the NFL.
The easy one is catching the football, and I think people have talked about that. But I also think his patience in the run game has improved. He has always been a running back that has had immense physical talents in terms of his burst and his ability to break tackles. But his patience was something that needed to be developed, and he's done that this year. I have been incredibly impressed with his improvement over the course of his career, and I think that's going to show NFL teams like, hey, this guy's really good, but he's also going to continue work to get better as well, which is just as important as his physical skills.
Roddy, man, always great to catch up with you, buddy, here on Wednesdays, and I know our listeners really appreciate it. What game are you on this week? I didn't even check the notes yet, man.
Got Pitt, Florida State,
Okay.
and it's supposed to be from home, but we will see if my power holds up.
Oof, I hear you. Well, good luck with that, man.
No,
Always
it should. We
appreciate
should
you.
be good. There's no tropical storms coming. Appreciate you having me, Lon.
Well, like you said, man, it's 2020. You never know. Anything can happen.
Exactly. Take care, brother.
Yes, sir. Roddy Jones here on the show that shakes the Southland. That's always a fun interview, getting a chance to chat with him and talk a little bit about everything going on in the world of college football. 803-450-0086. That's the way you can be a part of the program. You can text us. You can interact with us. I've seen a lot of people come through today, like Linda. Linda says, hello, Swati. Listening to you over in Hartsville, South Carolina. Thank you, Linda. My mom went to college over there at Hartsville, at Coker College back in the day. So it's been a while, though, Linda, since she was in school over there. But indeed, lovely little city, Hartsville, South Carolina. Appreciate you tuning in over there. 803-450-0086. Confidence in DJ Uiagalelei. We polled you on social media. We ask you if you're watching the show. Give us your thoughts. We'll hit a break. We'll react when we get back. Stay with us.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword FUN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's FUN to 200-200.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Look at traffic this afternoon. Shows a wreck on Reimer Pond at Adams Road. Also a tie-up I-20 eastbound near the Broad River Road exit. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line number is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by United Healthcare Medicare Advantage Plans. It's time to take advantage. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage Plans come with a lot to take advantage of. Visit AdvantageWow.com to learn more. That's AdvantageWow.com to learn more about United Healthcare Medicare Advantage Plans.
iHeartRadio salute to veterans with Dirk Bentley.
Hey, y'all, this is Dirk Bentley. Just want to say happy Veterans Day to all the vets out there.
This Veterans Day, hear stories from the heroes themselves. Download and subscribe to The Vets You Should Know wherever you listen to podcasts.
Ford has a long history of supporting our service members. Now, Ford is continuing that tradition with Proud to Honor, an initiative supporting military organizations such as Disabled American Veterans and Blue Star families. Learn more at FordProudToHonor.com.
In the Army National Guard, soldiers serve part-time and close to home.
My community means everything to me. It helped shape me into who I am today, and is where I choose to raise my own family. That's why I joined the Army National Guard. I'm proud of where I'm from, and as a soldier, I get to give back to the people that helped me succeed. The education benefits I got from serving helped me get my degree and jumpstart my career. The training and leadership skills I've gained from the Army National Guard help me every day when I teach young people, help my neighbors, and look out for my community. I know that when my neighbors need us the most, my fellow soldiers and I will be ready. My family loves it here, and my part-time service means we get to stay here.
Serve part-time in the community you live in as a proud member of the Army National Guard. Talk to your local recruiter or visit nationalguard.com. Sponsored by the South Carolina Army National Guard. Aired by the South Carolina Broadcasters Association and this station.
Orangutans. They're beautiful, playful, and majestic, and disappearing. Every day, as many as 20 orangutans vanish. They starve to death when their homes are destroyed or are killed when they stray into villages in search of food. International Animal Rescue is fighting for the survival of the critically endangered orangutan. But we can't do it without you. Please visit internationalanimalrescue.org and help us save orangutans before it's too late. That's internationalanimalrescue.org.
iHeartRadio Earth knows small changes make a big difference for the environment. Did you know that keeping your tires even a single PSI lower than recommended means worse mileage and more trips to the pump? So do the environment and your wallet a favor and always check the tire pressure. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips on smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency. Who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Clemson Sports Talk. Join the show in the chat room at clemsonsportstalk.com.
Show that shakes the Southland. The show that shakes the Southland, or as they said in the olden days, the show that shaketh the Southland. Okay, I had a little trouble there. I hit the play, but it didn't go. Every once in a while, my mouse, I got this, you got one of these battery charged, I'm like banging this thing around. Come on, mice. Help me out. 803-450-0086. That's the text line. 803-450-0086. Thank you for being a part of the program. So your confidence in DJ. How confident are you in DJ Uiagalelei going into this matchup this Saturday on the road against the Fighting Irish? Absolutely. Absolutely. The first thing I will say is that not having fans to the degree that we've seen in the past for games, and that has to be an uplifting thing for a quarterback like DJ. Any quarterback, any environment, going into Death Valley this season, I don't care who you are, it is nice to not have 80,000 fans sitting on you for hours on end. It's nice to be able to breathe a little bit if you're the opposing quarterback. Taking a look back and, just kind of thinking through this whole thing, they said that for the Florida State game, they had 46,000 fans there against the Seminoles. I just don't see that being the number in that stadium, given what I've seen on television. That might be tickets sold, but I hadn't seen 46,000 people. It has not been nearly that crowded based on my estimations. Now, there's also the possibility that some of the shots I've seen of these games were of the lesser filled side of the stadium. Maybe the home side is filled to the brim. 46,556 is what they say for the Louisville game. Let me just double check one thing. Because the count is not going to be the exact same for both. 46,5. All right, let's see. Florida State. Because this will tell us if it's a real number or just the ticket sold number. That's the ticket sold. That's the ticket sold. Attendance, there it is. All right, 10,000. 10,000. I read that wrong. 10,000. I don't know what that number is. That's the zip code. All right, good. 46,556. If anybody wants to mail a letter to South Bend. 10,000 people. That seems about right. I saw that number. I was like, that doesn't seem right. Okay, so I think that's helpful. But I started thinking about your confidence and where some of you are. So let's take a look and see what people have said here. Jody says, I have confidence in him. Worried more about our D. They got to step it up. Jody, it was not great against Boston College, but I don't want to get overly concerned about a bad half. And they really had a bad half. That second half, they were sharp, really for the majority of the season when they went up against Miami at home, against Virginia at home. I mean, they were pretty sharp. They had some moments against Virginia. They had some moments even against Syracuse. Had the 4-play, 96-yard drive, but it was an 83-yard reception. Brent Venables took all of the criticism for that play call defensively. So I still feel very good about him. Tyler Davis, I think, and his health is important. Obviously, James Skalski's out. Still kind of waiting to see what Mike Jones Jr.'s situation is going to be. The good news is, though, the further you get into the season, the further these young men are away from being freshmen. And I think that's important. Josh says, Swanee, I shared the show. Josh, you're the man. We almost hit it. I don't know if y'all were with us at the beginning. We almost hit our mark of 100 live viewers. That's kind of been our little goal. And I figure we'll just step that up. We'll just step it up from 100. We'll go to 150 next time, and we'll just keep pushing it. We'll see how high we can get it. Nothing would thrill me more than to fire this bad boy up and have 500, 1,000 people tuning in online, whether that's on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Doesn't matter to me how you're watching. Confidence, confidence, confidence. Scott says, Swanee, DJ will be ready. I would like to see him more in the run game. Man, Scott, you are preaching to the choir on that one, but if you heard our interview with Jason Negro, the head coach at St. John Bosco High School out in Bellflower, California, I mean, he was like, look, in high school, we didn't want to run DJ. We knew that his weaponry was really in his arm. That's where his arsenal is. Even as athletic as he is at 6'5", 245, 250, they still want him throwing the ball. And you see that from Clemson. And even though we've seen through his career Trevor Lawrence more and more involved in the run game to keep teams honest, I don't know where their confidence is in Tyson Pumachan to be able to throw the football, because through a couple of seasons of watching Tyson, it has not been great. It really hasn't been great. And we already know that he's got the injured hand. He had to have the surgery on his non-throwing hand. So as we sort of move through this over the next few days, your confidence in DJ, and maybe even more importantly, the coach's confidence in DJ is important. Cry Merge says Skalski being out is the biggest issue. The quarterback of the defense. Isn't that something? Clemson, both sides of the ball, really the leader on the opposite side of the ball, out last week, out this week. Skalski out for the foreseeable future. Dabo Swinney's given us really no timeline on that. Let's check out on social media. On Twitter, we polled the people. And I ask, essentially, where's your confidence level with DJ? With over 500 votes in about an hour, exactly an hour, how would you rate your confidence in DJ Uiagalelei headed into the Notre Dame game? 2% say they're concerned. Small number. 4 people are neutral on DJ. 45%, nearly half of the people, are somewhat confident, and nearly 50%, 49%, are extremely confident in DJ Uiagalelei going into that matchup with the Fighting Irish. Now, that poll is over on our Twitter account at Clemson Sports. Feel free to weigh in. We'll continue to check it throughout the program. Matter of fact, I'll write those numbers down real quick at the top, 49 and 42%. We'll hit a break.
In 2020, President Trump's electoral vote count is rising by 1. NBC News projects the president has carried the 2nd Congressional District of Maine. Also this afternoon, Wisconsin's 10 electoral votes were projected by NBC News for former Vice President Joe Biden. That leaves Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina as uncalled states on the road to the needed 270 electoral votes. In North Carolina, Republican Party Chair Michael Whatley expresses optimism President Trump will hold on there.
We are here today to celebrate an absolutely fantastic Election Day. As we said yesterday and last night, it was a great day to be a Republican here in North Carolina.
President Trump's campaign is filing lawsuits over the ongoing vote count in battleground Pennsylvania. A statement from Deputy Campaign Manager Justin Clark says the vote count must stop until there is meaningful transparency. The Trump campaign is also filing lawsuits in Michigan and Wisconsin. I'm Tom Roberts.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
Hey, this is Ray.
And Marianne with Absolute Glass.
We would like to thank Lexington for voting us Best Glass Shop in Lexington for 10 years in a row.
Absolute Glass specializes in high-end auto glass replacement and repair.
We also do home windows,
patio doors,
tabletops,
shower doors,
mirrors,
storefronts,
and decorative glass.
Find us online at absoluteglassinc.com.
And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
When you get in your car, you need the best directions to get where you want to be.
Will arrive at your retirement in 8
The
years.
same is true for your retirement. You need a voice to guide you along the way. Join Pat Struby for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby. Pat's 18 years of experience can help make your retirement journey feel like a drive down easy street.
Arriving at your retirement.
Saturdays, 6 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio. And Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 9 on 560 WVOC for Save Your Retirement with Pat Struby.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword FUN to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's FUN to 200-200.
Live from the $1,500 instant rebate AAA Heating and Air Weather Center.
Clear and cool tonight with lows in the low 40s. Tomorrow, sunny, pleasant, highs, low 70s. For Channel 25 ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina Service Benefit Plan. They say defense wins championships. Defense protects your health too. If you're a federal employee in South Carolina, active or retired, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Service Benefit Plan packs a wallop. Learn more at fepblue.org. We've been standing beside federal employees since 1960.
Imagine if I told you that an earthquake was going to hit tomorrow right where you live. That it would be 6.5 in magnitude with aftershocks occurring twice 25 minutes apart. You'd no doubt talk with your loved ones, and you'd make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you an earthquake will happen tomorrow. But what if it does? Shouldn't you have a plan? Visit scemd.org and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by the South Carolina Emergency Management Division, FEMA, and the Ad Council.
Want to hit a home run with your smart speaker?
Just say something like this.
Alexa, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
The show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you here on a Wednesday afternoon. Thank you to Rodney Jones for joining us. John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, coming up here in just a little bit. So again, our poll question about confidence, and DJ extremely confident, 49%, somewhat confident, 42%. Those are the two dominant, numbers in the poll we put up over on on Twitter, and that's over 500 and some odd votes in an hour. So thank you for everybody who participated in that. Again, like, share, and subscribe to the show. So we'll keep it scrolling across the bottom so the people that stop by can comment on it, and we'll get to your comments on that front. But, I start thinking about Trevor Lawrence. And when did you feel that supreme level of confidence with Trevor Lawrence? And I will make the argument that for most of you, you felt more confidence in Big Trev, the giant killer, before he took his first snap against Syracuse his freshman year. I truly believe that to be the case. And if you'd like me to present the evidence, Your Honor, I will. Because, I mean, some of you may not buy in on this with me. But if you go back to that season, through the first 4 games, whether you're talking about on the road at Texas A&M, against Georgia Tech, through the first 4 games, it became apparent quickly that Trevor Lawrence was better than the incumbent quarterback, Kelly Bryant. And what you knew about that incumbent quarterback, Kelly Bryant, was that he had led you into the college football playoff as the number 1 overall seed. But you recognized, and I don't know if there were many of you, if you were one, please raise your hand. Let me know. If you were one and you don't want us to know, in your heart, we all know that you were one that thought that Kelly was better than Trevor.
I've been wrongfully accused.
Well, some of you probably are in that category. But because you saw the numbers, and we wrote articles about it on ClemsonSportsTalk.com, you can find them. Absolutely. Go to our site, find any article with Trevor Lawrence, click it, scroll down, you'll find it. Where we made the case for why Trevor should be the starter going into Game 5. Why, when Kelly Bryant decided to pack his bags and leave, we were like, well, not that big of a deal. This wasn't really the guy anyway. The better quarterback's still here. The reason that I think that there's still some concern about DJ, for a portion of you, apparently not many, but I think the reason you don't feel nearly as confident about it as you did with Lawrence is because the other guy is better than DJ right now. It's the old scenario of temperature being relative. Your confidence in DJ, which is very high right now according to the polls, is relative by comparison to how you maybe felt about Trevor Lawrence compared to Kelly Bryant. And I venture to guess that the majority of you, after watching that matchup against Georgia Tech back in 2018, you watched that game and you probably went, yeah, Trevor's got to start. And you hope that Kelly would stick around and give you a serviceable backup and a guy that could come in and maybe split a little time, but you had more confidence in Trevor than Kelly. That doesn't exist right now. Because deep down, you don't have more confidence in DJ Uiagalelei than you do Trevor. So it creates a sense of concern, like, oh, our best guy's not out there. You see, when Trevor was a freshman, and that's why I would say that before he took his first snap, if I could have thrown up the same question, if I could hop in the time machine, 1.21 gigawatts, and ask that question to you, but you knew about what was going to happen in the future, I think the returns on Trevor would be much higher than 49% on extremely confident. I think people would have been far and away more confident in Trevor Lawrence at that point in his career when he took over. It's just a byproduct of the comparison between the starter and the backup. And the starter for Trevor was Kelly Bryant. And the starter for DJ is Trevor. I think it's a huge number. I think the confidence factor is huge looking at what you all have voted. Going back and taking a look at that Georgia Tech game back in 2018, that was a 49-21 victory by the Tigers. Trevor Lawrence that day was 13 of 18, 176 yards and 4 touchdowns. And there is no question that Tiger fans at that moment knew in order to get where they wanted to go, yeah, Kelly Bryant could probably get you back to the college football playoff. But could Kelly Bryant have beaten Notre Dame? Don't think so. Maybe. Could Kelly Bryant have beaten Alabama? Tough to prove it to me. And by the time Lawrence got to that point in the season, and this is the other thing that I think we're going to miss out on a little bit from DJ's perspective, assuming Trevor Lawrence comes back and picks things up where he left off, is that as Lawrence went through the year maturing game by game, 20, 39, 37, 40 passes in a game, and this offense continued to rocket forward, now, he had better targets than what DJ's dealing with right now. I mean, he had T. Higgins out there. He had a healthy Justin Ross out there. He had Hunter Renfrow. DJ doesn't have that. But that confidence, man, it was like a wave. And you just got to the college football playoff. We talked about how Clemson just hammered Notre Dame in the final few minutes of the first half in the Cotton Bowl, and then what they did to Alabama in the championship game was essentially absurd. I mean, that one will linger for a long time for Alabama fans. It lingers a long time for Clemson Tiger fans as well. To see that Alabama team, undefeated Alabama team, get hammered 44-16, and the way Clemson just dominated them, man, it was something to watch. But I think your confidence in DJ, whether very positive or somewhat positive, is really directly reflected by the guy that he's beside, which is right now one of the best we've ever seen do it, Trevor Lawrence. Speaking of which, one ESPN writer says her vote's not changing on the Heisman Trophy just yet. We'll tell you who after this.
Lawton Swan here, and I know in sports we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top-quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating, 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today, 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
Need quality HVAC solutions? Trust On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. At On-Call, we're a team of experts providing heating, ventilation, and air conditioning services for homes and businesses in the Midlands. For any HVAC emergency, On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air is here 24/7 to serve you with trained technicians, not trained salespeople. Visit us online at OnCallSC.com to schedule a service today.
On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat and Place, just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat and Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
O'Reilly. This is Jesse's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
As a nurse, not making it to work was not an option. But driving through the snow with my wiper blades struggling, I just didn't feel safe. So I pulled into O'Reilly Auto Parts, and before I knew it, an employee was offering to install the wiper blades on my car. I got to stay out of the snow for a moment, and I still made it to work on time.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Today on Hey Culligan, softer equals better. Here's a tweet from @Itchy in Idaho. Hey Culligan, my laundry is so scratchy, I just cut myself on a cable knit sweater. Any suggestions? #send help. Hey @Itchy in Idaho. Yes, the Culligan High Efficiency Water Softener will make that thing so soft it'll go from cable knit to cable knot. Itchy. #soft laundry. #already on the way. Get started for as little as $10 a month for 6 months at participating Culligan dealers.
20 years, 6 Super Bowl championships. The New England Patriots of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are the greatest dynasty in NFL history. I'm Gary Myers. Join me for a new podcast, The GOAT, Tom Brady, where I pull back the curtain on the greatest run of sustained success by one player and one team in NFL history. The GOAT, Tom Brady, is available now. Listen and follow on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. MAD is here to help. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. That's MADD.org.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Coming up on the show, John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily. We'll take a peek up to South Bend, Indiana. Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers on the practice field. They'll be coming off the practice fields just after we get off the air this evening as they prepare for their matchup on the road in South Bend, Indiana. Again, our poll question of the day, our conversations really circling around or how confident you are in DJ. Let us know your thoughts and comments. We'll get them up on the air here. For everybody to hear and listen to and get your thoughts. Now, Cry Merge says he believes that that DJ is better than Trevor Lawrence, but not right now. Now, that's a hot take there. That's a hot take. I don't know about that. Now, Edward makes a valid point about the wide receivers. And this was sort of the question I had asked Dabo. Like, have you checked to see if the old Alabama number 88 was dusted off and any eligibility left? Because the wideout group has been so banged up. That's actually one of the things I'm really looking forward to hearing more from Coach Swinney about is, Ladson and Gata. I do think that at least from the Williams perspective, and we're talking about E.J. Williams, the true freshman, from Phoenix City, Alabama, same high school as Justin Ross. I think the thing that you do like is the fact he's had to play more. He's a very physical wide receiver. Hasn't done much yet in the downfield passing game, but has that emergent factor to him. But here's the thing. If we talk about Ladson and Ngata, and we can go through injuries, and Ladson with the hip pointer a week ago and Ngata with the lingering abdominal injury, what is amazing to me is if I go back and we talk about Trevor as a freshman, but we forget to talk about Justin Ross as a freshman and how quickly Justin Ross, gets into the college football playoff and has over 300 yards receiving in the two games combined, got into the end zone, 3 times as well? And really became the counterbalance to T. Higgins. Not that I would say Clemson had necessarily missed all season, but I do think for some people, they forget that Ross finished his freshman year with 1,000 yards on the button, if my memory serves me correctly, 1,000 yards receiving. And 300 of that, a third of that happened in the final 2 games during the college football playoff. I mean, that's incredible. Right on the button. I was right. Just got the stats in front of me. His emergence through the season, like right now at wide receiver, one, because Ross is out, you didn't have the T. Higgins, the leader in the clubhouse. Now, look, I don't, that should not diminish Amari Rodgers and what he brings us to the table, because he's absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's perhaps as powerful and as explosive at the wideout position as we've seen. I mean, if you would have told me after you got done with Artavis Scott that the next dude in the door would look like Artavis Scott as a senior and then just advance it through his career, I'd have told you you're out of your mind, and yet here we are. me and you hanging out in the loony bin, apparently. Because he really just continued to elevate his game even after knee surgery. But if you go back to Justin Ross in 2018 and look at his quick rise in the college football playoff, I mean, by comparison to the rest of the year, it was mind-boggling. 148 yards receiving against Notre Dame, 2 touchdowns. 153 yards receiving against Alabama, 1 touchdown. And you look at the rest of the year, 70-58, 70-19, 74-40. I mean, you only have one game, I think it was against, Georgia Southern, where he went over 100-plus yards, 103 in that game. But the college football playoff, man, he took it to a next level. But he had T. Higgins to complement him. I mean, at this point, in the downfield passing game, you've got plenty of weapons. We could talk about all the names. But nobody's that true, clear-cut number one who you just have this supreme level of confidence in going up and bringing down the big ball down the field like you had with T. Higgins, like you had a year ago with Justin Ross as well as T. Higgins, the way they emerged together as sort of this dynamic duo at wideout. And then when you lost Ross because of the neck issue, it really fell off. And you hoped, I think everybody hoped, that it would be Ngata or Ladson that would step up. Ladson's had a case of the dropsies. Ngata's been out. Somebody's got to step forward. But I do agree, Edward, that if those guys get going, that's going to be huge. And next year it's going to be big for DJ. I think next year to have a guy like Justin Ross back. I mean, losing Justin Ross this year is a big blow to this offense that is forgotten about by a lot of people because he hasn't played all season. You know, if he'd have played 2 games or 3 games, and then all of a sudden, like Jalen Waddle got hurt, you'd hear about it all year. Well, you know, when they had Waddle, they were explosive. Well, you know, when they had Ross, they were explosive. Because Ross hadn't been here all season, nobody's really focusing on how big of a loss that is at this point. 803-450-0086. You can text us, be a part of the program. Taking a look here. Shannon says he shared the show. Shannon, you the man. Shannon's listening to us in the low country. Shannon, call the radio stations down there. Tell them down in the Charleston area you want to hear the show that shakes the Southland. Let them know. Let the people's voice be heard. The people's show, if you will. Shannon also says he is confident in DJ and concerned about the D with injuries stopping the run game. We'll find out about the run game. John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, joining the program when we get back. We'll head up to South Bend, Indiana. We'll find out about the weather. We'll find out about the environment, the ambiance in Notre Dame Stadium as the Clemson Tigers head up this Saturday in a number 1 versus number 4 matchup. Where are the minds of the Fighting Irish as they head into this game against the top-ranked Tigers? We'll find out right after this.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic types this afternoon include road construction on I-77 southbound near the Bluff Road exit. We also have a wreck on Reimer Pond at Adams. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line is open for you at 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by 12-Hour Mucinex.
Mucinex presents Trusted Allies of Doctors. Throughout history, doctors have used tools they trust to help them treat your illnesses. But what do they trust when they have a cough or cold? Mucinex, the #1 brand doctors trust.
If you want to get your business on the radio and you don't need help from a professional, you really need to check out iHeartAdBuilder.com. Not only is it extremely affordable, online, customizable, and heard by 9 out of 10 Americans every month, it's just so easy. You can even make your own radio ad all from your smartphone, wherever you are. Click, listen, approve, and get your ad on air. Get started today at iHeartAdBuilder.com. That's iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Are you finding it hard to breathe in your own home? When was the last time you had your air ducts cleaned? With us spending more time in our homes than ever, dust and dander's at an all-time high. There's no better time than now to have clean, healthy air in your home or workplace. And there's no one better to call than the cleaning experts at Zero Res Air Duct Cleaning. Right now, get $30 off an air duct cleaning plus a complimentary disinfectant fogging treatment. Call 803-262-4020 or schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
If you've been waiting for a sign to know when it's time to buy a new home, here it is. Great Southern Homes Mad Money Extravaganza. Receive up to $10,000 in incentives on select homes. Visit GreatSouthernHomes.com, find your new home, and talk to a new home community representative to discover the amount of mad money on the home you've longed for. But hurry, you must close on your new home by December 31st, 2020. Make your dream home a reality with Mad Money Extravaganza at GreatSouthernHomes.com.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to ditch the car and start rollerblading to work.
I look ridiculous. You look ridiculous!
You don't need to start foraging wild berries.
I was skeptical, but these are actually pretty good.
You don't need to sell your organs on the black market.
Lie back. This is gonna hurt.
Yeah, that hurts. You don't need to rent out your apartment to drifters.
I made a fire with the wood in your bedroom.
That's my dresser!
And your closet door.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell all your belongings and live in a commune.
These dungarees belong to all of us now, Tom.
Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Major key alert. Don't ever play yourself. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com.
Stay focused. Now that's a major key alert.
Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Fox Sports Radio 1400, WCOS Columbia, an iHeart radio station.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set. Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's Drive Time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Lawton Swan with you on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for being part of the program. And yesterday, lots of Dabo Swinney. The day before that, lots of DJ Uiagalelei. And now we'll head up to South Bend, Indiana. John Bryce going to be joining the program here. We had John on earlier during the offseason in the midst of all the COVID-19 stuff. We'll get John lined up here on the program and chat with him a little bit about everything going on as the Fighting Irish prepare to entertain the number 1 ranked Clemson Tigers this Saturday. So looking forward to catching up with John here. Again, Irish Sports Daily is the website, one of our sister sites of ClemsonSportsTalk.com. John, what's going on, big guy? Hope you're doing well. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to get to visit with you guys again. It's been a few months, and we're glad to have college football ongoing and the game of the year coming up. So it's a good time to visit.
I'll say this: it is something that at night, it sort of brings us all together. It unites us all. These top 5, top 10 matchups, and for the Atlantic Coast Conference, having Notre Dame in the league this year creates the best ranking matchup in the history of the conference, with number 1 versus number 4 for a grand total of 5. When you look at it from your perspective, Midwest, checking out the Clemson Tigers and what they've been able to do so far, what have you seen from this number 1 ranked Clemson team right now that gives you some concern?
Oh, well, first of all, they've had the best player in college football all season long in Trevor Lawrence, and really a preeminent player in college football for 3 years now, who would have been a top 5 pick a year ago, if not the number 1 overall pick. And now it appears DJ is set to give them that type of player for the future to come. So what Dabo has done, and I covered Tennessee before I moved north, and covered a lot of SEC football, and so I saw that Clemson program fairly close and know about his struggles early on. And then once he turned the corner, what Clemson has done really better than anybody in the country is build depth everywhere on its football roster. And to me, that's what separates Clemson, and that's why Clemson is a threat to win a national championship, and has been a threat to be the national champion every single year for the last several years in a row, all the way back to when Taj Boyd really nearly led them to a title. So to me, that's the biggest thing, is that Clemson not only has a bunch of really, really good football players, but it stacks those guys 2, 3, 4 deep at all the positions that matter.
John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, with us here on Clemson Sports Talk. And John, I know nobody's rooting for COVID out there, obviously, but I got to imagine that there was a buzz in South Bend, Indiana last week when Trevor Lawrence ended up testing positive for COVID-19 and now ultimately being out for that game. How did that news sort of filter through that community? And again, you and I both know nobody's rooting for COVID, but that certainly was some big news for the Fighting Irish fans.
It was. It was huge news, and it was the talk. You could hear people, even through their masks at the grocery store, talking about, well, Clemson doesn't have its quarterback and things of that nature. But honestly, what I think it does is it really places tremendous pressure on Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to get a still incredibly good Clemson football team, but once again, Notre Dame gets a game at home against a powerhouse team with a quarterback who's a freshman making his first career road start. And they had that in 2017 when Jake Fromm in Georgia visited up here, and Notre Dame couldn't close out that game. And so I think Notre Dame has a lot of pressure to find a way to get a win Saturday, and has to find a way to play extremely well to do so.
John, this is typically a stadium that would hold 82,000, I guess, depending on how many you cram in there. But with COVID-19 restrictions, I know it's faculty and students and family members. About 10,000 people will be in the stadium on Saturday. How has that affected just the environment in Notre Dame, and really, in your opinion, across college football for road teams?
I think it's obviously made things a lot easier overall for road teams. I've had a few coaches and heard some others talk about you have to be careful with your cadence, because now all of a sudden everybody can hear what you're talking about. If you're a team that huddles, they can hear your huddle now down on the field. And I didn't think about that going into the season, but as I've talked to more coaches, especially in some of the either entirely unpopulated stadiums or some Big Ten stadiums where there's mainly just family and friends of players in there, so you're talking about just a very few hundred people, that truly is an element that now plays into the game, that some teams are using more hand signals, some teams are just using less huddle or huddling further away or doing things like that. But I think it's a tremendous disadvantage in this situation for Notre Dame not to be able to pack out Notre Dame Stadium. I will point out that Notre Dame has had it where it could host 14, 15, 16,000, somewhere in that neighborhood all season long. And the Fighting Irish haven't had a crowd of more than around 11,500 at any game this year. So they haven't filled to the reduced capacity that they've allowed. I'm sure that will be different this weekend.
It'll be something to watch. Again, the 4th-ranked Fighting Irish hosting the Clemson Tigers. Clemson will play on NBC, John, for just the 7th time in their history. And it's amazing to me as somebody that grew up, with Notre Dame being on NBC every week, thinking about, man, for Clemson to be on national television, it's really that aspect of it all. And being a guy that covered Tennessee, you kind of know how that looked from the outside looking in. That aspect of Notre Dame, certainly not diminished because it's their own personal network to a degree, but being seen and people watching you, that doesn't feel the same to me as I think it once would have.
No, you're absolutely right. You bring up a fantastic point. Honestly, I think that's something that Notre Dame has had to adjust to, and maybe was a little bit slow to adjust to in some of its recruiting efforts. Look, Notre Dame is a national brand, yes, and it has been for a really long time. But Clemson's a national brand now too. The Tigers dominate recruiting in a lot of regions of the South, but Clemson can absolutely walk into any high school in America and have a shot to land any recruit that it wants to land. And I think that's been a big part of things for Clemson, for an Alabama, for some of these other programs that the network television, the launch of the ACC network, the SEC network, all of these things have diminished, I think, an advantage that Notre Dame once had, where every single game, every single week was going to be a national television game. And if Notre Dame wasn't playing a home game on NBC, then it was going to be a national TV game on ABC against Michigan or Southern Cal or somebody like that. And that's just not the reality that's being lived in anymore.
John Bryce, Irish Sports Daily, with us here on Clemson Sports Talk previewing Clemson and Notre Dame. Okay, John, let's talk about the matchups just a little bit. I know Clemson Tiger fans very familiar with Ian Book from the college football playoff semifinal 2 years ago. How has he developed as a player? And then the other thing I noticed, and you helped me out with this too, the backups haven't played a whole lot either. So there's got to be a bit of concern for the Fighting Irish. I mean, if Ian Book gets banged up in this game, it doesn't look like there's been really any other play for any of the backup quarterbacks.
No, and early in the season, when Notre Dame hosted South Florida and beat the Bulls 52-0, Brendan Clark wasn't available for that game, and he's the backup, so they put in true freshman Drew Pine, and he got a few snaps. But no, Notre Dame has not, in my opinion, done enough to get the backups involved this year, especially with injury or with contact tracing and COVID, obviously. Sure. Just one test tube away, you could find yourselves in a really tough predicament if you're Notre Dame, because Ian Book is your guy. He is never going to blow you away physically, but he does have a great moxie to him, and he is a better athlete overall than what I think a lot of people see. And he has bailed Notre Dame out of some major situations with his legs. Immediately when I talk about Ian Book, I think about him rushing in for the game-winning touchdown last year against Virginia Tech, and the waning moments. When I left and walked to the stadium for post-game interviews, I'd had 5 or 6 paragraphs written on a story about Notre Dame losing that game and losing its home winning streak. And instead, they've won every single home game since that Georgia loss in 2017, something like 22 or 23 in a row. And Ian Book's been the guy for every single one of those. So, no, Notre Dame is incredibly green behind Ian Book, and I don't think built to withstand what Clemson has thus far withstood very well due to the absence of Trevor Lawrence.
Now, how about at running back? I know Kyron Williams has sort of been the guy to a degree, but this is a pretty deep group at running back, and what can Clemson fans expect to see from that front?
You know, I think that Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree, particularly the redshirt freshman and the true freshman, are more of probably the type of running backs that Clemson has been used to seeing in its own backfield the last few years. Those guys are just a little bit different than what Notre Dame's had. And Josh Adams on that 17 team was really good and ran into some the periphery of the Heisman Trophy race and did some great things. But he was a huge back that looked far more like an Eddie George than a Travis Etienne. And so I think these guys they've got now are better suited for the current environment of college football. I think they're really good running backs. I think both Williams and Tyree will have a chance to be NFL type of running backs. And then Sebo Flemister, the number 3 running back, has a bigger frame and can run and do some things up inside the tackles that are very good, catches the ball. All 3 of those guys catch the ball pretty well out of the backfield, which is something that I think Notre Dame's continuing to do more and more of. So those are the guys in the backfield for Notre Dame, and kind of what sticks out to me about them. They're just more dangerous as breakaway guys than what I think Notre Dame has maybe had, other than Dexter Williams a couple of years ago.
The 7-0 Clemson Tigers, ranked number 1 in the country. The 6-0 Notre Dame Fighting Irish, ranked number 4 in America. It's a 7:30 start on NBC. Again, John Bryce from Irish Sports Daily, one of our sister sites, chatting it up with us here about the upcoming matchup. And, one of the criticisms that I've seen nationally from Notre Dame, and I've seen them play a couple of games, is what people would maybe label as the inability to press the football down the field in an era where, that over-the-top kind of passing game has really been paramount. I mean, you're even seeing it now in the SEC. I mean, how would you rate their ability to really throw the football and, test cornerbacks like Clemson's, given the fact that over the past few weekends, whether it's Syracuse or Boston College, we have seen Clemson get challenged down the field a little bit?
Yeah, we haven't seen Notre Dame able to consistently threaten downfield at all this year. And we knew, that even before COVID wrecked spring camp for everybody and changed summer camps for everybody and 7-on-7 throwing sessions and all of that, we knew it was going to be way different for Notre Dame because they lost Chase Claypool and Cole Kmet and Chris Fink off last year's team. And I think those guys caught like 24 of Ethan Book's 34 touchdown passes a year ago. So, and obviously we all know what Claypool is doing right now in the NFL. So huge defections there. But Notre Dame has not had a healthy burner on the field throughout this year. Braden Lindsey is their best deep threat, but he's had a lingering hamstring injury and has been a non-factor and will not be a factor really this week as well. And I think those are issues for Notre Dame. Ben Skowronek is a really nice player that they picked up, graduate transfer from Northwestern. He caught like 110 passes in his career at Northwestern. He had a breakout game a couple of weeks ago against Pitt. But again, he's not going to run by Clemson defenders in a foot race, and if he gets behind them, I don't know that you think Clemson won't be able to catch him. So I haven't seen Notre Dame test it downfield enough this year, not with any consistency, and I think that that's a huge question mark or a concern, depending on how you view it, with Notre Dame going into this game. Because, look, Notre Dame has yet to encounter a game where it couldn't impose its will on an opponent when it really needed to, and it melted like the final 7 or 8 minutes of clock against Pittsburgh. It melted the final 7 or 8 minutes of clock against Georgia Tech. It ran out the clock to preserve a closer than expected win against Louisville. So Notre Dame offensively, the best thing it's done has been it's been relatively efficient, and it has really shortened games and used at times a dominating ground game to really keep opposing offenses off the field.
Defensively, the Fighting Irish, John, are clearly the best team Clemson's run up against this season and maybe throughout their entire schedule up until they get to whatever postseason game they play. It will be, I think, the best defense they'll see. How much, frustration do you think the Fighting Irish can cause this Clemson team, especially given the fact that, DJ's just really getting his second start and he'll be there not necessarily in a hostile environment, as we mentioned, but it's going to be different being on the road for him for sure.
Yeah, it will be different for DJ. It is not the true definition of a hostile road environment, but, Notre Dame is doing its green out this week, and it will have the potential for a full student section. And like I said, upwards of around 15,000 people possibly in the stands. And that'll be obviously different than what DJ encounter with primarily everybody in the stadium cheering for him last weekend. And then Notre Dame has a veteran and very smart defense led by Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is just really developed into a fabulous All-American type player for Notre Dame and the leader of that defense there at the second level. He's a guy that will, again, look like some of the greats that Clemson has had on its defense in recent years. He can drop into coverage and do some nice things. He can really get after the quarterback. And then Clark Lee, I think, is alongside the conversations along with Venables there in terms of the best defensive coordinators in America. I think Clark Lee is 100% a future head coach. He was a finalist for the Boston College job a year ago before they went with Jeff Hafley. I think he'll be a head coach sooner rather than later. And then Kyle Hamilton on the back end is another guy who I covered Eric Berry when he first got onto the college scene at Tennessee. And Kyle Hamilton reminds me of an Eric Berry type with his skills on the back end of that defense. So you look at Hamilton, you look at Koramoah as two future NFL players, Koramoah probably after this season, Hamilton after next season. And then you see a lot of other veteran, really nice pieces around there. And then you have a great defensive coordinator. So I think the game within the game this weekend between the two defensive coordinators, probably in my opinion, the two very best defensive coordinators in college football, is a really fascinating component.
Couple of quick questions. We'll only have a few more minutes, John. First off, what kind of final score? Doesn't really matter to me who you think wins the game at this point. I mean, what are we looking at? Are we getting into the 30s in this game? Where's this game square up?
I think probably Notre Dame would have to break into the 30s to feel good about its chances to win this game, but I don't think it has to be way up in the 30s. I see this as a one-possession game, and in the realm of a 31-27 type of game, maybe a 30-24 type of game, something along those lines. Probably, certainly it could be a 1-point one-possession game, something like 30-29 or anything. I think that's where I'm projecting it at, is upper 20s, barely into the 30s, where this thing will be won and lost.
And final thing for you, John Bryce again, irishsportsdaily.com. That's the website. Final question for you, John, on the front of Clemson and Notre Dame this Saturday when, my mind just went away. So I guess I don't have it. It vanished. I was listening to your point predictions, John, and lost it. So I guess I'll just have to let you go. That's never happened in my career on the radio. I only got 50 seconds to see if I can come up with it. It was a short answer, though. I'm disappointed in myself, John. I fumbled at the goal line.
I talk too much. It's all my fault. No, it's all my fault. It's all my fault. So,
man,
I
have
threw
one
an
more
audible
good one.
at
It was
you
a
and
short,
you didn't
quick
get to
one, but it went away. I'll think of it in 5 minutes to be angry at myself. John Bryce, irishsportsdaily.com. Appreciate you, buddy. Thank you. Man, what was I going to ask him? How does my train went off the track? John was sharp. It just completely. That's the first time in an interview in the history of the show that I have forgotten what I was going to say. We hit a break. I'll see if I can come up with it.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword HOPE to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's HOPE to 200-200.
Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic types this afternoon include Faro at Varn. Also, the road is blocked due to an accident I-20 eastbound near the Broad River Road exit. The 103.5 FM WVOC traffic tip line is 343-1055.
This report is sponsored by Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina Service Benefit Plan. They say defense wins championships. Defense protects your health too. If you're a federal employee in South Carolina, active or retired, the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Service Benefit Plan packs a wallop. Learn more at fepblue.org. We've been standing beside federal employees since 1960.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention all women who have been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and shower-to-shower talcum products have been linked to ovarian cancer. In February and May 2000, 2016, Johnson & Johnson was ordered to pay $72 million and $55 million by two juries to two women who contracted ovarian cancer after years of using talcum baby powder products. If you or a family member has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer and used talcum powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Powder Help Now today at 800-833-0112. You may be entitled to substantial compensation. The consultation is free and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. Don't fight this alone. If you or a loved one used talcum baby powder-based products before being diagnosed or died from ovarian cancer, call Talcum Powder Help Now at 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112. 800-833-0112.
Paid for by Bar Justice.
That is a pretty good breakfast. You're not even eating.
Not hungry.
Why not? What's up?
Kath and I knew that Jenny'd been partying a bit. Found out she tried heroin.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org. A message from the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids, where families find answers.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Tell the world I see with an emoji to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I was sensitive to lights and sounds, so I built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. Sometimes I do the same things over and over, until one day I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Stay on top of today's pop culture. Ace and TJ Mornings and today's hit music all day on 104.7 WNOK.
It is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. The question. I told you. I'd figured it out the second I got off the air. It was a simple one. It was like a yes or no. I mean, it's like that easy. The question was, John, win or lose, do you think these two teams meet up in the ACC championship? I mean, how in the world how do I forget that one?
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
Right? Fortunately, through the power of text, I texted John my final question, to which he responded, absolutely. So we got it. It wasn't nearly as easy as it probably should have been, but we got it done. 803-450-0086 is your number. 803-450-0086. Man, it's going to be a lot of fun, I'm telling you. And I'm just sad. By the way, let's get a poll update on our DJ Uiagalelei question that we posed earlier in the show. You know, how would you... All right, so extremely confident has bumped up to 50% of the vote. Half of the over 620 voters. Half of you say extremely confident. Somewhat confident, also now up 2 percentage points. to 44%. There is a 94% somewhat to extremely confident number coming out of Clemson Tiger Nation. Caroline says extremely confident. Realistically, 24 points probably wins this game. If the defense plays to the standard they have set the past few years, if they lose this game, I would be shocked if DJ is the reason. That comes to us from Carolyn. The Clemson dude says the defense needs to rebuild big. I think they will, and that makes the O's job easier. That comes to us from the Clemson dude. I'm loving this. More poll questions. Shout the people. Get a little retweetable offense, too. Drink coffee and wash your hands. Says missing those guys on D is much bigger than playing 5 in place of 16. Still no Skalski. What about Davis and Jones? Great questions. And again, we're hoping to get an update on both. I get a feeling Davis will be back. I saw some people messaging that they thought Davis would be back. Mike Jones Jr. last week was day-to-day, Dabo Swinney told us. Day-to-day. We asked him on Wednesday. Well, it's day-to-day. So when he's banged up, but when the game comes, he might be ready to go. And he wasn't.
How dare you?
He wasn't. Don't blame me for asking. You guys want to know the answer. I just asked Dabo the questions. Thank you again to John Bryce for joining us again. If you're watching the show, like, share, and subscribe. It is the most digital content covering your Clemson Tigers. Nobody else with 2 hours of coverage each and every day talking about Clemson as they get prepared for this matchup against the Fighting Irish. Now, as for the Tigers and what I think that they will try to do in this game, or at least what they need to be able to do, and it's going to be tough. I have on a concern list rushing the football. Rushing the football between the tackles in short yardage situations as my Mayday, high alert, what's going on there? Even with Travis Etienne, and look, when I asked Tony Elliott after the Syracuse game, when Clemson struggled to do it, they struggled to do it again against Boston College this past week. You need a yard on a 3rd and 1. I'm not confident in this team to pick it up at this point. I truly believe that this week, however, and again, you got to have some willingness to do this, is going to allow them to develop a power run game like they built with Taj Boyd for a 3rd down, short yardage situation. And let me explain why I think this is important. We know DJ's been a little bit banged up with his shoulder. But I think that given the fact that you're facing Notre Dame, and to a degree, while I believe you could lose this and win the ACC championship game and still get into the college football playoff, I think you got that leeway because of who you are. You still want to win every game. There's nobody that goes, well, you know what, we could lose this one. Let's just lose this one. We'll just take this week off. Nobody thinks like that. At least nobody I know. So my philosophy on this, if I'm Clemson, going into this week and having a week of prep is, all right, we need to improve our short yardage game. We're going to allow DJ, and let's hope, that if you, and I don't have the number in front of me, I could probably look back and snag it real quick, but if you talk about true short yardage situations, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, you might run into, 3 or 4 of those in a game. Now, you don't have to run DJ every time with the QB power, but I would do it a couple of times. Because it's my belief with a week off, with the belief that with that extra week off, you're going to get Trevor Lawrence back. I'm not going to say that DJ's, quote, expendable at this point, but he is certainly more so in a situation where you can run him with confidence And if that is running him to win this game against Notre Dame, to know he's got time. If he gets a little bit banged up to heal, you've got Lawrence potentially coming back in a couple of weeks against Florida State. You have time. This past week, you didn't really have it. And you didn't really have a chance to maybe institute that into your playbook as much as you would like and work the nuances of Travis Etienne, or better yet, Kobe Pace as a power blocker in that QB power game. I kind of like it. And I think that if Clemson's in short yardage situations this weekend, by comparison to what they went up against last weekend against Boston College, I think they'll do a better job. I'll run the numbers during the break, and we'll see how many times that could potentially come into play and how I think it's certainly a big part of this week's game.
Special report, Decision 2020. Joe Biden believes he's on track to win the presidency.
And now, after a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency.
Biden says he's not declaring victory yet, but he is confident the outcome will swing his way. Votes are still being counted in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada, Georgia, and North Carolina. NBC News projects Joe Biden is the winner of the 2020 presidential election in Michigan. President Trump took the typically Democratic state in 2016, which was a key to his victory over Hillary Clinton. Michigan gives Biden 16 electoral votes. President Trump's campaign is filing lawsuits over the ongoing vote count in battleground Pennsylvania. A statement from Deputy Campaign Manager Justin Clark says the vote count must stop until there is meaningful transparency. He calls Pennsylvania's Secretary of State unhinged. I'm Tom Roberts.
Welcome to Zip Poll USA, Social Greedia Edition. They've been asked before and will be asked again. Are they a publisher or a platform? For the latest opinions, direct from the Zip Poll USA app. Here's Christina Staffo.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz wants some answers.
Twitter and Facebook and big tech billionaires don't get to censor political speech and actively interfere in the election.
The CEOs of Twitter and Facebook will testify before the Senate in November to discuss the platform's censorship and suppression of information, especially regarding the 2020 election. Do you think social media will back off censorship? Super close Zip poll with 51% saying yes, it's just too messy. 49% say no, they need to censor information. Another Zip poll posted by an anonymous Zip app user asking, are you using Twitter more or less than you were a year ago? Over 70% of those polled say less. People are just so mean on Twitter, but still close to 30% say more. It's basically a drug. And many states have joined the Justice Department suing Google in a landmark antitrust case, accusing the tech giant of stifling competition to maintain dominance in online search and ad markets. Google says people use them because they choose to. What do you think? Does Google stifle competition? The majority at 57% say no. Google is just really good at what they do.
Thanks, Christina. Download Zip Poll USA in your favorite app store today. Share your opinions and make sure your voice is heard. We'll have poll results every day on the trending topics taken directly from the Zip app. Paid for by Zip Poll USA.
Here's your chance to win $1,000. Text the nationwide keyword HOPE to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's HOPE to 200-200.
This is Doug Gottlieb. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by All-American Heating and Air.
A special edition of Sunday Night Football this week. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers host Drew Brees and the Saints. New Orleans got the victory in the first matchup against Brady. However, since week 2, the old Tom Brady is back, posting a 92 PFF grade, which trails only Russell Wilson. Can Brady get his revenge against the defense that picked him off twice? Two all-time greats go toe-to-toe on Sunday Night Football. I'm Chris Collinsworth.
Kill COVID-19 in your home with the All-American Heating and Air Purifier. The APCO-X whole home air treatment system is now proven to kill COVID-19. Keep your family safe and install an air purifier today. allamericanheatingandair.com.
iHeartRadio is the #1 choice for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one. No one makes it easier to hear everything you love in one free app.
I love that podcasts are free. Pretty much any podcast you want is right there.
Love Crime Junkie. That's my addiction.
I really love Stuff You Should Know.
The Daily is another great one.
So good. You name it, they got it. What everybody's listening to. It's free.
If you're not one of the tens of millions who have the app, download iHeartRadio for free today and start listening.
iHeartRadio.
It's time to show your online assistant where you go for a good time. Okay, Google, play Fox Sports Radio 1400 on iHeartRadio.
don't know what that song is, but it takes me back to like the 80s. That little beat, the little drum riff, and then into the little bottle, bottle. All right, so I was looking back. There was a 3rd and 1 in the fourth quarter right before Clemson ends up punting the ball to Boston College, their final possession of the game. Clemson didn't pick that up. That's the kind of play, in the game against Notre Dame, 3rd quarter, 4th quarter, wherever, you got to be able to pick it up. They also had a 3rd and 3 at one point in the 3rd quarter that ended up being a 33-yard pass to Travis Etienne. So I was trying to go back and check the rest of the game to find, short yardage, 3rd down, and 2 3rd and 3 situations. And it didn't pop up all that often, but even when it did, Clemson's willingness. They did pick up a 3rd and 1 very early in the game on the scoring drive that tied the game up at 7 when Uiagalelei found Travis Etienne on that drive. There was a 3rd and 1 at the 44. Etienne rushed for 4 yards. Then you had another opportunity, 3rd and 3. It was a pass to Davis Allen for a 1st down. You had a 3rd, looking to see. There may have been some other 2nd and shorts, too, in the game. But, I vividly remember watching that Boston College game and thinking, they just don't seem to have the same push. They just don't seem to be able to move the ball. Maybe even at the line of scrimmage, at the goal line, on the fumble. That possession was another moment in the game where I thought, man, QB power. Just give the ball, snap the ball to DJ and let him power it in. I think at Notre Dame, that would have to be the play call. So 1st and 10 at the 14. Etienne runs for 3 yards to the 11. 2nd and 7 at the 11. Uiagalelei hits Etienne for 9 yards. Okay, here we go. 1st and goal at the 2. Stuffed. 2nd and goal. Stuffed. 3rd and goal. Fumble. Bumble. Stumble. 21-7 BC. So I think that was the other parts in that game. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It might come up 6 or 7 times. I think you got to be more effective. I definitely believe at the goal line you can't have 3 opportunities at it. The first crack's got to get into the end zone against Notre Dame, or the second crack. You just can't, and I wouldn't at this point. Even though I remember at Florida State, Deshaun Watson's freshman year, Clemson going into the shotgun down at the goal line against the Seminoles, snapping the ball over over Watson's head. That might have been Freeman might have been the center then. Snap the ball over Watson's head. You lose all the yardage. You end up losing that ball game, and you go back to that moment like, get under center, hand it off. Now, I have become more accustomed to Clemson snapping the ball 3 yards back to the quarterback on a power run game. Taj Boyd sort of grew me up into that. I've seen it enough with Trevor Lawrence. I've seen it enough with Deshaun Watson. I've seen it with Trevor Lawrence a little bit. I definitely think that with DJ, that's my move. I think that's my move. And so quarterbacks in a situation like DJ Uiagalelei was in a week ago, with a backup, with an injured hand, the guy behind you being Double H Hunter Helms, DJ's first game, I think you have to be a little bit more protective. You couldn't be maybe as aggressive with those play calls. And so this weekend, and again, you have a little bit of a buffer. You could lose this game and get to the ACC championship. You could lose this game and get to the college football playoff. But nobody's playing for second place. And if I got 1st and goal at the 2-yard line, best believe I'm lining it up with DJ. And if you just got it in your system that you got to have Brian Brzee in there blocking for him, If that's just your thing, okay. Fine. Let DJ follow his roommate into the end zone. But I don't have a ton of confidence in Clemson's ability to rush the football between the tackles for 2 yards right now. The offensive line has not built enough goodwill for me. Have they for you? If they have, comment, let us know. Text us during the week. Let us know. 803-450-0086. I mean, has this offensive line put you in a position where you feel good about what they've done in short yardage situations? I've been iffy all year. At Wake Forest, you could go back and find it. At the goal line, getting stuffed. Let's see. B-Man in SC says Sewanee, the defense will earn their almond joys this week. Clemson 28, Notre Dame 10. Woo. 18 points. Put something on it. That comes to us from the B-Man in SC. John, listen to us in Archdale, North Carolina. Am I allowed to say North Carolina without playing a Ric Flair? Woo! He says, I wonder if DJ's sore shoulder is the reason that he didn't run more last week, along with Dabo knowing that Trevor would not be back in time for Notre Dame. Yes, I'm with you, John. When did you text that? John, you texted that an hour ago. You're all over it. You get multiple woos for that. Multiple.
And I'm saying, woo, right here. Woo!
Thanks, John. I think that's the real deal, folks. Clemson's inability to run between the tackles this season cannot continue to be an issue in this game against Notre Dame and the defense that they have, and it can't be an issue moving forward when you get in to big-time ball games against power teams. And I'm not trying to look past anybody on the schedule. I'm just giving you the honest truth. You have to be able to pick up a 3rd and 2 consistently. You have to be able to punch the ball into the end zone. You got to have it in your playbook. And if it becomes DJ's role in this offense, then good. Get the 2 yards and get it over with. Final segment on the flip side. Stay with us.
Small businesses are more than just a place to shop. They're a critical part of our communities. As we approach the holidays, it's more important than ever to support the small businesses that matter to you. And if you're a small business, let your customers know that you're open and ready to serve them today by advertising on the radio. Go to iHeartAdBuilder.com. Sign up now and get a free custom radio ad. It's a great way to get the word out about your business. Happy holidays from your friends at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
Kirk Commercial Construction is a licensed general contractor in South Carolina. Since 2011, Chris Kirk, a Columbia native with 20 years of construction experience, has believed in meeting his customers' needs. Kirk Commercial Construction is capable of performing any retail or office expansion, new construction, metal building, or commercial renovation work. In addition to Kirk's commercial construction projects, their service division can assist you with commercial and maintenance tasks. If you need it done right, call 803-250-2495 or kirkcommercialconstruction.com.
When a community grows, its hospital should grow too. And that's just what we're doing at Lexington Medical Center. We recently launched the largest hospital expansion project in South Carolina history. Our new 10-story patient tower will help us take better care of patients, including the tiniest infants who need special attention. It will also make room for the growing number of patients who need surgery and intensive care. At Lexington Medical Center, our mission to serve our community never wavers. We're here when you need us today, and we'll be there when you need us tomorrow.
For all your plumbing problems and needs, On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air is here to help. Available 24/7 to serve you with trained technicians, not trained salespeople. Whether your plumbing job is large or small, it's the right job for On-Call. Receive installations, repairs, and everything in between from the company you can trust to do it right. On-Call is your locally owned and operated plumbing company. Go to OnCallSC.com.
On-Call Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Pick up the phone and we'll be right there. Call 781-HELP.
Hi, I'm Alicia Kaufman-Quinton. My daddy, Billy Kaufman, opened Kaufman's Meat Plant at our present location in 1955. My family still works hard every day to ensure fresh quality cuts of beef, pork, and poultry. How about a tasty T-bone, ribeye, or New York strip steak? But to order at Kaufman's Meat Place. Just look for the signs near the intersection of US 1 and I-20 in Lexington. Call us at 356-0076 to place your order. Kaufman's Meat Place, when you want the very best your money can buy.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Families affected by disasters urgently need support. Help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelter to those affected by disasters, big and small. Donate to Red Cross Disaster Relief. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
A loaded lineup of Maction football tonight, getting underway 6 o'clock. Eastern Michigan's at Kent State. Western Michigan's at Akron. Buffalo at Northern Illinois at 7. Ohio at Central Michigan at 7. Ball State at Miami of Ohio at 7 o'clock. Bowling Green at Toledo at 8 p.m. You got it. Count them up. 6 games tonight on ESPN, ESPN 3, 2, the regular ESPN, CBS Sports Nation, and ESPNU. College football, baby. 6 games tonight. Coming up tomorrow, Utah State's at Nevada at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, FS1. And then Wyoming, the Cowboys at Colorado State, 9 o'clock on the CBS Sports Network. Your Friday night matchups in college football this week. Miami's at NC State on ESPN, 7:30 Friday night. San Jose State at San Diego State, 9 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. And number 9 BYU at number 21 Boise State, 9:45 on FS1. So there's a look at it, but 6 games tonight. Okay, we were talking earlier about Trevor Lawrence and Lawrence being out and people, or at least the Heisman odds falling on him. Give Andre Adelson some credit because she was on with our good buddy Mark Packer, who we had on the program yesterday. She was on his show and asked about that. She said, no. Listen, the guy is out for 1 week. I mean, this is like, I almost felt like Andre Adelson was on our show. Because, or at least listen to our show. Because, again, it's 1 game. he's played more games than Trevor Lawrence. And she says, look, she's not changing that. It's not going to change her vote. And, I'm kind of the same way because the Heisman Trophy is about the best player in college football, dude. And if you tell me you think Mac Jones is the best player in college football, now you might could talk me into Justin Fields. You cannot talk me into Mac Jones. Adelson said, I refuse to penalize Trevor Lawrence for missing a game because he tested positive for coronavirus. And she's right. And look, I get it. It comes down to stats. I get it. He's going to be out this week, and maybe that's the thing that's the tipping point for you. But Lawrence barely plays in a lot of these games. He's out by the half. And I think the Heisman Trophy voters and the Heisman Trophy Trust, I think that they do need to start taking that into consideration. Now, I don't really think that in COVID-19 we're going to be able to avoid it because I think they are going to say, well, let's look at what you're doing per game, a per game basis, because of how skewed the numbers could be. But I think moving forward, they got to be more specific and look at it and say, well, Lawrence or whoever, I don't care who the guy is. I don't care. Lawrence came out at halftime in 6 ball games or whatever that number is. And Joe Schmo from Okemo had to play in every game until the last minute because in his conference, they were winning games 52-46. And so his stats are just absurd. Let's give him the Heisman Trophy. Absurd statistics don't make you the best player. Absurd numbers don't make you the best at anything. They just don't. And so my thing is, at least at this point, with Trevor Lawrence and COVID-19, I wouldn't drop him off of my number one spot either. And now it's not to say that the number one pick in the NFL draft should always be the Heisman Trophy winner. I'm not telling you that either because there's value that goes into that first round draft pick, right? I mean, the NFL, if the best player won the Heisman Trophy, you would assume that that would be the guy that's drafted first every year. We know that is not the case. But I do think you have to start truly, if you're going to be willing to look into it and the numbers of games these guys play, etc., you got to be able to look at it and say, well, what percentage of the game is this guy playing? Because he's obliterating people. Billy says best is the standard. You are correct, Billy. And again, with Trevor, I think all we want to see is him have the opportunity to go out there and win it. But to take him off your ballot today or to drop him below Mac Jones. Mac Jones. Travesty. Really is. Really is. Incredibly, folks, 2 hours are in the books here on the show that shakes the Southland this afternoon. Podcast will be up just after the program today. Cannot wait to be back with you tomorrow. Lots going on as we get ready for Clemson and Notre Dame this weekend. Stay locked to our website, ClemsonSportsTalk.com. We got so many articles coming out. I was looking in the console before the show. My head started spinning. All the work that we've got built up and put into the system that we'll be dropping over the next 24, 48 hours as we start to head towards that matchup in South Bend, Indiana. Again, thank you to John Bryce from Irish Sports Daily. Thank you to our good buddy, Roddy Jones from the ACC Network and SiriusXM for spending some time with us. If you missed those interviews, they'll be on the podcast as well. And again, we almost hit our goal of 100 people. We're doing it tomorrow. Lock it in. We're pulling it off. 100 people at one time watching the show out of the gates. We got to get out of here, though. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now. And go Tigers!
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive.